Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share this, how we get the word out about what we do. I'm excited for our guest today. Scott is a dog trainer, so I'm excited for this. We haven't had a dog trainer on. He's been doing it for 18, 19, coming on 19 years. Started his business season going into the seventh year of doing that. Also has been in the military, active and now a reservist for 19 years also. So thanks for your service there, of course. And family guy, 4 kids, all the things. Busy guy. Thanks for being on, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you guys are watching on YouTube, you see that right now he's actually working in the military. So, which is super cool. All right. So what got you into, I mean, dog training is a different line of work, and obviously not everyone does it. What got you into dog training 18, 19 years ago?
When I was a teenager, I had a Great Dane that I did confirmation with. It was a show dog, and I was self-taught mostly under the guidance of another handler that showed dogs, and did really well in the show world with my Dane. And I thought I was some kind of savant. And then fast forward to when I went through the canine handlers course in the military, I came under the fast realization that I didn't know anything about dog training. And, but that's what sparked it. And I sought out as I moved on. That's what gave me the bug was going through canine handlers course. So I just continued to seek out anybody willing to teach me anything about dog training. And that led me to where I am now.
Wow, what was it about that grabbed you so much? Was it like you've always been a major dog person? Was it seeing the dogs transform? Like, what was it? Do you know?
Yeah. So I've always loved dogs. My mom's always had boxers growing up, and I've always loved dogs. But so in the military, what they do is they have what's called a green dog that they procure from a vendor first. And this dog is started, but not really. And as it goes through the handler's course with the future handler, that's when it becomes trained. And um, that's when you get to see a bare bones. The dog doesn't know anything about odor detection. If it's a dual purpose dog for bite work as well, it doesn't know much about bite work. Tracking, it doesn't know anything about tracking, so on. And you get to see the dog evolve and just
Wow.
pick up on things and observing behavior. I became a big nerd for dog behavior, which led me to some self-education down the road as well.
Wow, yeah, that would be cool to see for sure. I mean, I've seen some well-trained police and military dogs, and they're intense on TikTok. Um, so that's my TikTok. What is it that makes, some dogs make it and some dogs don't, right?
Correct. There are some washout situations.
Do you find like what would you say is a percentage, or are they pretty good in the military specifically at like picking certain breeds of dogs that seem to cater better to that situation? Or like, yeah, tell us a little bit about your findings there. I find this intriguing.
Yeah, so there are five dog breeds that are predominant for military and police. So you have the German Shepherd, the Belgian Malinois, the Dutch Shepherd, German Shorthair Pointer, and the Labrador Retriever. Those are the five core breeds. There are some other breeds utilized in police work. Um, I don't agree that we just stick to those five breeds, but that's neither here nor there. But they are solid breeds, and the biggest thing about the selection process. So usually the washout percentage is low. It's very low. Um, and usually it's more of a um, the potential washouts are sorted out in the selection process from the vendor. So that gets us through most of those potential issues that could arise down the road once they start training. But it does happen. Sometimes things are missed, and um, it's not a perfect system.
Right.
There's no such thing as a perfect system, but
Right.
they pretty well got it ironed out at this point.
Okay. And I'm curious, Why do you think just those 5 dogs? Like, why do you think there should be other breeds?
Consistency in breeding programs, really good breeding programs. The dog's genetic predisposition for the work. Those 5 breeds pretty much have it. Um,
But why do you think there should be other breeds?
in my
Personally.
experience, so for example, in Australia, um, most of the explosive detection dogs are Australian Kelpies.
Oh, interesting.
It's a phenomenal breed. Yes, it's a herding dog.
Super smart.
They're widely used in Australia for herding sheep and cattle, but they're highly intelligent and they have a heck of a nose. And they're they've in Australia they've built a very successful program with explosive detection dogs, narcotics dogs, with the Kelpie.
Yeah.
It's a proven breed in the work line, and I don't see anything against opening up for other breeds. The Cocker Spaniel,
Hmm.
working line Cocker Spaniels. Everybody looks at the Cocker Spaniel, Lady in the Tramp. Lady
Right.
was a Cocker Spaniel, right? And so everybody looks at Cocker Spaniel as the cute little pet dog, and nobody thinks of them as a working dog, but they originated in Europe and Britain for bird. Some of the best bird dogs you'll ever find are in Britain and the UK, being used as hunting dogs, and
Right.
they make phenomenal detection dogs. There's a trainer I highly look up to and respect in Las Vegas that has actually used a lot of Cocker Spaniels for electronic storage device detection.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Well, I love that. So let's get out of military. Let's get into personal because people are listening to this. They're like, well, that nothing to do with us. Let's talk about dogs.
Yeah.
This is your passion, so I'm excited. What do you see as the biggest, I don't know what the word is, most common mistake humans make with their pets?
Two A lot of mistakes are made in the puppy process.
Okay.
So, um, now, granted, there's a lot of different scenarios. There's a lot of people that believe in rescue, and I have nothing against rescue. I believe in rescue as well. Um, and so the odds of them running into a puppy are very slim, but the biggest mistakes are made in the puppy process. A
Okay.
lot of the behaviors are dogs are always learning. They're
Right.
watching everything we do. They're watching our physical mannerisms. They're paying attention to the tone of our voice. They can smell our emotions. Dogs sense human emotion, and it's not from some mystical sixth sense that people believe dogs have. They're dogs, not unicorns.
Right.
So but they can smell that. So when we have positive emotions, we release dopamine, feel good pheromone. It is a pheromone. It is a chemical reaction happening in our body. They can smell that. When we have adverse emotions, we release adrenaline. Adrenaline is a pheromone. It is a chemical reaction happening in our body. They can smell that. And so they're picking up on everything from our emotions to our physical mannerisms to our patterns. And when we don't take the time to cater to shaping a puppy in what we want out of them later on, then when we do get to later on, that's when we run into the big roadblocks and the problems and so on and so forth.
What's the number one thing that you have people bringing to you? Like, what is the number one problem that's been created as a puppy that you see, or a number, like a top couple?
Separation anxiety that is manifested in reactivity.
Okay.
The anxiety wasn't addressed when the dog was younger. Now it's 2 or 3-year-old Mr. Fluffles, and now it tries to bite anybody that gets close to mama. So
Right.
it's behavioral management is the number one thing that we run into with pets.
And a lot of it's just because they were let doing stuff when they were little that they shouldn't have been, basically. Like the
People don't
simplified
pick up on
answer.
separation anxiety. Yeah. We if you don't pick up on the separation anxiety and you don't address it, then it has the high potential to manifest into something a little more nasty later on down the road, or maybe not nasty but problematic. You get a dog that turns into a very anxious or a very fearful dog because that one little thing wasn't addressed or wasn't recognized when they were younger.
That makes sense. Are there certain breeds that you think people are getting, and this is obviously totally random, this is just my thought, that people are getting because they just like these breeds, but really aren't like meant to be like small house, small like pet breeds. Like they're meant to be working breeds. Like you mentioned the Kelpie. I'm just
I
curious,
got
like your thoughts on some of that.
I've got three big ones:
Okay.
the German Shepherd,
Yep.
the Cane Corso,
Yep.
and the Belgian Malinois.
Okay.
And they're people say, "Oh, I've done a ton of research and I've looked into this and I know what I'm getting into." And they're looking for training, and we help them, but then we have to stress to them a whole bunch of information that they obviously weren't expecting.
Because go into a little more detail. I think this is really important for people that are
Yeah.
like, I want to get a dog.
So
This German Shepherd especially is like a number one.
yeah.
Like people
So
are like, I got a family dog.
yeah, and German shepherds can do really well with families, but they need space. They need an outlet. They need a yard, preferably a fenced-in yard that they can just run and do zoomies and be a dog. They can play with sticks and chase the squirrels away and all those things, right? And so German shepherds need space. They do really well with families. Um, I've noticed between the two, between the Belgian Malinois, the German Shepherd, because a lot of people still don't know what the Belgian Malinois is, and they think it's just a tiny German Shepherd. I'm like, no, nope, totally different can of worms here. But they, the German Shepherd needs that space. It needs its outlet. It loves its people. It's excited to be with people. It's excited to interact. But it needs an outlet. It needs more than just obedience. It needs some kind of purpose, whether that purpose is a high level of play or some kind of mild competition, whether it be detection work. The AKC actually has a pet version of detection work. So just because I say detection, that doesn't mean, oh, you need to sell your dog to a police department and it needs to be a drug dog. No, there's things that people can do with their family pet that, Fluffles is just as capable of doing detection as Spike is, right? So
Right.
um, the Cane Corso, that's a lot of dog. It's a lot of dog. And what people don't understand is Mastiffs, they come and seek your attention when they want it, and then they're just as happy going and laying in the nice cool floor and relaxing all on their own without you. And people spend too much time invading the dog's space and giving the dog attention what it's not ready for the attention, and that can in turn create some behavioral issues as well. It's more of a lack of reading behavior. um, the Belgian Malinois, if a kangaroo, Albert Einstein, a teddy bear pounded C4 for a date for 24 hours straight and then did a line of coke, that's what you have. Like it's it's a it might not be a big dog like the Cane Corso is, but it's still a lot of dog. Between my wife and I, we actually personally own 5 Malinois, and they all have jobs. And there are days it is like Barnum and Bailey's at the house, and then there are days when everything is great. Um, but they're
What do you
definitely
what do
go
you
ahead.
think, or say to interrupt, what do you think are some of the best family dogs?
Um, I I've got three or four yet again. So I referred to the Cocker Spaniel earlier. Cockers are great dogs. They are energetic. Um, they do great with little people. They do great with elderly people. Um, they're rough as puppies. They are rough as puppies. So you have to be patient and seek out a professional to help you with the puppy process. But I love a proper Cocker Spaniel. Um, there's a dog. It looks like a. Have you heard of the Doodles? Right, like the
Yeah.
Labradoodle or the Golden Doodle. So there's a dog that kind of looks like a doodle, but it isn't. It's a purebred dog. It's called a Lagotto Ramignolo. It's an Italian water dog. They're medium breeds. Very curly hair. They kind of, like I said, they kind of look like a doodle. I've found them to be fabulous family dogs.
Okay.
Um, it's a breed that I'm pretty familiar with. I've trained several over the years, and I've yet to have one with any behavioral issues. Not saying that one
Wow.
doesn't exist or that any breed is exempt from behavior, because it's
Right.
not. But in my experience, I've yet to run into one with any major issues.
Oh.
And the Lagoda is just a great all around dog. It's got energy. It's willing to ramp up or come down for almost any type of owner situation. Um, I've trained Lagodos for little old ladies, um, and I've trained Lagodos for people who are constantly out hiking and camping and stuff like that. And it's a great all around dog.
Okay.
Um, I do like the Kelpie. I fell in love with the Kelpie about 7 years ago or 6 years ago now. Yeah, 6 years ago now. I fell in love with the Kelpie. Um, I own two, and they're herding dogs. I use them for herding cattle and moving cattle from point A to point B. And um, absolutely love the Kelpie. It's a very versatile dog, and they're very gentle. Unlike the Border Collies are really prone to your anxieties and behavioral issues and everything else. And just as you can see, just as many good Border Collies as I've seen bad Border Collies. Whereas it's almost unheard of for a Kelpie to bite a human.
Oh, interesting.
Not saying that it's never happened to anyone anywhere, but
Right.
it's very uncommon to hear of behavioral issues in the Kelpie.
Oh, cool. Okay. What about like the Lassie Collie and like the Sheltie? That's what I grew up with. I'm just curious.
I actually, if you do proper environmental exposure, so socialization, I hate that word because it's so incorrectly used in the dog world.
Right.
If you do proper environmental exposure early on with a Sheltie, they can be phenomenal dogs. They're very prone to being nervous dogs
Yes.
um, and having that social anxiety.
Yes.
But if you do proper socialization slash environmental exposure early on, they can develop into fabulous dogs. It's another one of those breeds. It's kind of half and half. I've seen some fantastic ones that were just happy and glad to be there. And oh, you're going to groom me, and they'll pose for you, and you groom them, and they're great. They're barrel of monkeys. And then I've seen the ones that were just so scared of everything that, and it's
Yeah,
sad. It
we
breaks
we
my
had
heart
both.
when I
We
see
had
that.
both. Lots growing up. Yeah, that makes sense. What about the Lassie Collie? I found them. We've only had a couple, but I found them to be different than the Sheltie by quite a bit. Personally, just growing up. It's curious.
Yes, I've seen less of those experience behavioral issues, and
Yeah.
um, they're usually very confident dogs. But I kind of throw them in the same category as the German Shepherd. You've got to allow them to have space to be a
Mm,
dog, and they're
yeah.
yes, they're happy to be there and for belly rubs and and all that stuff. But they need that time to just run
Mm,
and go and just do whatever.
that makes
They
sense.
throw a ball, play frisbee, find what their motivator is and play with them. And they need that. They need that outlet.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, they're a working dog, so makes sense. Like bred to be a working breed. That's really cool. So one of the things we talked about before that I think was interesting was you talked about your belief and because I said like, what made you do this? And you just said, you believe that you could do it. Where did that belief come from, Scott? Like, was it something you were raised with? Was it something you developed? Um, where do you feel that all came from?
I get a little emotional talking about this, but I was raised by a single mother, and God love her, she did her best and she worked hard for me. But I wasn't, I don't know the word I'm looking for. A big flash word that's being used a lot now in the business world is legacy. And I didn't have that. I'm currently creating my legacy.
Right.
Um, no one left me anything. No one gave me anything. I didn't have a dad to leave me anything. I None of my grandfathers, left me anything. I'm the man in my family that's creating legacy that I'm going to pass down to my kids.
Right.
And I made that decision right around the time I decided I was going to go into business with myself. When I met my wife, I was in a pretty low place personally. Um, nothing with like nothing crazy, just mentally, I was in a low place. And
Right.
I met her, and she's the one that said, "Why do you keep seeking validation from the dog training world? You're looking for permission to do this on your own. Stop. Just do it. You have the tools, you have the knowledge. Just do it." And that's when I turned on the belief and I took the leap. I quit my job. I used my GI Bill to go to a canine academy in Virginia for 6 months. I started the business while I was there. I didn't have a dime in my bank account when I created the business. I actually had to use her. We were just dating at the time. I had to use her credit card to start the LLC
Wow.
and everything else to create all that. And I put my nose to the grindstone and just I believed in myself and my capabilities. And I kept that going. Now here we are, almost we're starting our seventh year of business. I have five trainers, not counting me and my wife, and um, we're well known in the Southeast region for puppy development and behavioral management. So
Just because
yeah,
someone believed in you and said, "Hey, like, you can do it."
yeah,
That's so good. It just reminds me to make sure I'm believing in people because that one word can completely change someone's life. So I'm glad you married her. Good job.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Smart
that was a
guy.
sign.
Smart guy. Yes. Very, very good. So, what is something, and so you started building your business, we were talking before, and you worked hard and you know that. So, we're 7 years in. I don't know if things are getting easier, if that's the right word, but normally the first 5 years are the hardest, statistically speaking. In those first couple of years, think back, what kept you going on the days when I'm sure there were days you wanted to quit? What kept you going on those days that got you out of bed and made you do the work?
Once I turned on that belief, it never went away. I just kept feeding that fire. Visualization. What do I want? What do I want to give my kids later down the road? What do I want to provide for them in the near future? And just learning visualization, finding mentors and learning visualization and how that works and fueling that fire of belief. Um, I've not slowed down. I average 14 to 16-hour workdays 7 days a week.
Wow.
And it's um it's crazy. Like it's I don't know how to explain it. Like I just once I flipped that switch on, it all felt right. And continuing to learn is part of it. Challenging myself, learning from other people, continuing to educate myself. Like just because I've been doing this 19 years doesn't mean I know everything there is to know about dog training.
Right.
Yeah, and the day that I believe that I know everything about dog training, that's when I'm going to hang it up and retire.
Right. And we'll have to wrap up soon, but I love this, guys. And if you have dogs or anything like that, reach out to Scott. We'll have all his information in the show notes. He's good at this. But on the self-belief, because I think, I love that you brought that up because I think that is where people struggle. And you're like, that's basically what made us all kind of possible. If you think about it, maybe you have no answer on this, I'm not sure. What are some things people can do to build their self-belief or raise their self-belief or keep their self-belief or whatever? Because I do think that's a huge struggle for a lot of entrepreneurs is and just in general and in confidence is self-belief.
That's tough. Because it's different for everyone.
Right.
Everybody's motivated by something different, and um I would say if there's some form of core value that you could develop, um, that attributes to self belief is every person at some point in time needs to be alone. They need to look in the mirror. They need to have the hard conversation with themselves, and they need to understand that life is a series of choices, Every choice we make, there is rarely a result that happens in our life that is not directly attributed to previous series of choices.
Right.
And that's why I use my four-letter vocabulary every time I hear somebody giving excuses um, of why something didn't work or why something didn't pan out or whatever. I'm still at that point as a business owner and an entrepreneur of I'm terrified to take my foot off the throttle.
Right.
I'm 7 years in, and every time I think about taking my foot off the throttle, I'm like, I hit this moment of panic, and I'm like, no, no, we're not going to do that yet. And that's the goal, right? The goal is to build it to the point where you can take your foot off the throttle, and now it's somebody else's turn to
Right.
do that on your behalf. But I'm not there, and but I do periodically revisit the mirror and I have the conversation with myself and I see where things are and I see where things could be. And I have that hard conversation with myself. You have to be your hardest critic and you have to take that bias. Self-belief doesn't mean that you're biased to everything that you do and whatever. It means you believe in yourself to get it done. And and to keep getting it done. Those moments in the mirror, you have to reflect and you have to be honest with yourself. Where did I go wrong? This is where you tear yourself apart. Where did I go wrong with this? What could I do better? And the best way to build that and to cater to that is seek out a mentor. Find a mentor, find a person that is genuinely non-biased to you, hire them, let them pick you apart. It's going to hurt. and uh and then that's when you'll learn from them how to do that for yourself.
I love that. That's so good. Awesome, guys. Well, in wrapping up, I always have three final questions and then anything we didn't touch on that you think would be really impactful for listeners. Are you in the rain or are you in the snow, by the way? I've been trying to figure it out.
Right. I'm in the rain.
You're in the rain. Look at this. Such a tough guy. All right. This is awesome. All right. Three final questions. First and final question is if someone's looking for their purpose, what's one sentence you would say that could help them find it?
It has to genuinely feel like your real passion.
Cool.
That comes from here, not from here.
Right. Awesome. Second and final question. What's a favorite quote and why?
Overall, Jordan Peterson, um, we have to become monsters and then learn control.
Ooh, I like that one. Never heard that one before. All right. Third and final question. What one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
I gave it hell.
I like it. All right. You're running someone in the coffee shop. They listen to this, and they're learning about self-belief and maybe what kind of dog they want. I don't know what they got out of this completely, but all the different things. What's something we didn't touch on that you think would be really impactful to leave our listeners with?
When sticking back to the core of this, if you're a dog owner or you're looking to become a dog owner, don't just remember that you're responsible for every aspect of that dog's life. Don't just look at getting the dog and take things step by step. Plan for pet insurance to help with unforeseen circumstances, maybe an emergency vet visit or something. Um, get pet insurance. Find a trainer. Doesn't have to be me. If you're in the Southeast, I would love to help you. I service the entire Southeast region of the United States. But it doesn't have to be me. But reach out to a professional. Do some research. Don't just look at Google reviews. Find them on their social media or talk to them. Ask them questions. It's your dog. It's your right to ask that person questions. And if they act funny about answering your questions in any way, shape, or form, probably shouldn't use them as a trainer. You need 100% transparency with everything. Where is your dog staying if it does a board and train? Where do they stay? What are their conditions? Can I come look at your kennel facility? Can you send me pictures or video if they're really far away? So on and so forth. Do quality research. Be comfortable with the trainer you're sending your dog to. But find a trainer. Find help. YouTube is great. I get it. It's free. But it takes a lot of context out of it because it's not your dog that you're looking at when you're watching those videos.
Right.
And temperament and personality wise, Every dog is different, just like humans. But on the flip side of that coin, to contradict that slightly, dog behavior is dog behavior. It doesn't matter if it's a teacup chihuahua or a Tibetan mastiff or anything in between. Dog behavior is dog behavior. If you recognize an issue with your dog, address it immediately. Don't wait. Address it immediately. And that's pretty much it.
Love it. Thank you so much for being on, Scott. Like I said, it's all the links will be in the show notes. Let's go out there, people. Let's go out there and change the world one person or one starfish at a time. If we can change one starfish at a time or one person's life at a time together, we can change the world. Thanks for being on, Scott.
Thank you, ma'am.